just chatting, just chatting, just chatting, just chatting, just chatting. Let me break a shaker up. Let me break my shaker up. Snakes, 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 snakes.
Hello, brother. How are you?
Hello, brother. I'm all right.
Yeah,
I'm okay. I'm okay.
yeah, yeah. Anything
I didn't
new? Anything
sleep great.
exciting? I didn't
New
either.
and exciting.
Uh-uh.
You didn't sleep good either? I don't know what's going on. Changing of the seasons. I woke up
Yeah.
around 3:34 something in the morning and was just up for way too long.
Hmm.
So, anyway, that never gets my day going off on the right foot. New and exciting. I started Moon Knight today.
Ooh, do tell. I didn't even know it's
Uh,
out.
well, as of today. Um, so yeah, yeah, that's
Nice.
exciting. It was so far so good. I don't, to be honest, I didn't read a lot of Moon Knight comics.
Nope.
So I read there was I think like the Declan, um, what's his last name? Declan Delphi, is that his name? The artist, his run on it, and it's wacky. It's wacky, wacky, wild. But so far, it's Oscar Isaac. He's a friggin' delight.
Mm.
So I'm hopeful. So far, so good. Halfway
Yeah.
through.
If anybody's gonna
Um,
do it, he's gonna do it.
he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it with panache and style, and not a small dash of handsomeness.
Right. Yes.
It's a handsome man.
He is a handsome man.
That's all. That's pretty much all I got.
All right.
How about you?
Um, I told you that. Did I tell you that we started watching the Scream movies in reverse order?
No,
Yeah. We started with
that's
number
fun.
five because it was out and new, and then we were like, well,
Yeah,
how does this compare to number four? How does this compare to number three? Which number three,
it's
not
the
so good.
weakest of all of them, but
Yeah.
I actually still like number three.
Yeah. It's goofball. It's like
It's
it's
very
almost
goofy.
literally, like what do you call it? Slapstick comedy. It's almost literally slapstick.
There, it
But
is.
yeah.
It is unusual. Do I have this? Do I remember this correctly? And spoilers, if you haven't seen Scream 3, pause your fast forward the stream. uh, it's the only one where there's just one killer, right? There's not two.
That's a really good question because I didn't get to the end of it because we didn't like it.
Oh wow,
I
the
know.
end is actually pretty good.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
we should go back.
I mean, I don't know. It's not the strongest, but I don't know. It's kind of like The Mummy. I could watch Brendan
Mm.
Fraser, Rachel Weisz. I could watch The Mummy. That's not a good movie. I could watch that. I could say I could. I'm going to jump off the stream. I could watch it right now. There's something
Oh,
about it that I love. And anyway,
let's do it. Maybe we should do
let's just
that.
watch The Mummy. Let's just
Yeah. What do you guys
forget it.
think? Not that
Yeah. Who
anybody's
likes
here,
Brendan
but
Fraser? Raise your hand. I'll raise two. I love Brendan Fraser. I
oh
love
yeah.
him, and I love that he's had a resurgence. It makes me so
Oh, me
happy. In
too.
fact,
Me
I
too.
would like to see The Mummy 4 with him and Rachel Weisz. Forget whoever stepped in to take her place in The Mummy 3. Forget the the Tom Crisby is, and go back to the OG. Um, you know, go Brendan Fraser, go. Anyway,
Go Brendan Fraser. Go Brendan
who are
Fraser. Go.
we? Who are we,
Who are
brother?
we?
We are Business
Um,
Brothers Creative.
yes.
What do we do?
This what do we do? We provide digital help to anyone that needs. We're talking websites, design,
Yeah.
strategy,
Okay.
automations, marketing, if you
Yeah.
so
Sick.
believe in that.
And if you
Um,
don't, we still do it.
we still do it, whether you want it or not. Whether you want
Yeah,
it
well,
or not.
if you want to believe it or not, it's too bad. It's coming to you. And then specifically, this series that we are doing, Pair Pods, is
AirPods.
pairing in the agile development world. Simply means when that you can accomplish something with a higher degree of quality and hopefully at a faster rate when you're putting two minds together to work on something rather than just kind of crank and grind on something on your own. And we use this series to help try to identify problems or challenges with things that we are currently working on. And it ranges from all kinds of stuff. If we're working on a website, we'll do that. If we're, designing a logo, we'll do that. Or last week and this week, we are working on some software that we are building
Yes.
for people like us who are D&D nerds. This software is entitled. How do you say that? This piece of software is super entitled. It's really working that entitlement. We call it, for now, Campaign Companion.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a note-taking collaboration tool for players, not for dungeon masters, for players, so they can take good notes, keep track of their stuff, and share that with the other people in the party, keep track of the various campaigns that you're in, do all that kind of stuff. We've been working on the UX for a while, just sketching at Adobe XD. We've been working in Webflow to help build out the UI. And currently we're in a prototyping phase of building out some of the actual the database components in existing collaborative note-taking platforms. Ours of choice is called Notion. We started last week. I interrupted you a lot with my confusion about what you were doing. This week, I'm going to try to, be quieter and let you just build the database without me interjecting. And with that said, I think we've just said what we're doing here. Do you want to roll our intro? And then we'll get into this.
I really want to roll the intro. And a 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2. Oh man, that's some good stuff.
Oh, I meant to go to Vecteezy and find the artist who created that cool animation. I can do that. I'll do that while you're talking.
Okay.
And so we can give them some love. Vecteezy.com, a great place to go and find source free stuff when you need it, because I can do a lot of things on the web, but create animations like that, not my wheelhouse. So I go to Vecteezy.com sometimes.
Vecteezy, feeling breezy. Yeah. While you're doing that, let me enter the world of Notion. And I'm really excited. So it's okay that you didn't remember the name, because there's a couple of audio issues that we're still kind of working through. But one thing I'm super excited about this week, Biv, is we finally got the ability for you to write on the screen. It really, really meant a lot to me personally to offer that functionality. So we now, there it is. Oh man, it's going live. I love that. A whole lot.
Very quickly, I don't know this person's real name. I just know their handle here, and it is P. It's spelled like protein with an H in it. So protein. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how you say this, but go find them on Vecteezy. They've got all kinds of awesome stuff that they built. It's really quite impressive. I hope they make a lot of money. Anyway, thank you for your work. Thanks for letting us use it. Okay, brother. So why don't you take it away? Where we left off, and what it is we're going to be doing today.
Bada bing, bada bing, bada bing. Yes. So last week we talked about the journal component database of Notion, and again, for everybody watching, we are most definitely using Notion as a testing ground. This week we put out an excellent survey written by our companion Allison Kendrick, put together, and I will have the link for that in the YouTube notes below. We would love for everybody to be a part of that as well. It's a basic form. I can actually Can I go to it? I think I can go to it.
Yeah,
But
we want to know what your pain points are, how you journal, what
right.
kind of software you use. Are you into D&D Beyond? Are you into
Yep.
pens and papers? Stuff like that.
Yes. And I'll bring it up in a second. But the idea is just we're already getting some really amazing feedback just on the concept of this, which we will then be able to a little bit more agilely uh, pull off in Notion, kind of show in Notion. So that's where we are. This is Notion for those of you who don't know. Um, yes.
Can I just try to talk through my confusion of what was happening last week?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
so I got hung up on the structure of what you were building in Notion
Hmm.
versus how that's reflected in the Campaign Companion UI that we've built to this point.
Right.
Um, and not really understanding or knowing how to think in terms of, okay, this is a database. This is just stuff that you're going to be drawing from. It's not. It doesn't really have anything to do with UX or how it. It's definitely not UI and how it looks, but also doesn't really have anything to do with how it behaves. It has to do with collecting information, creating information. Is that? Do I have my arms around that, as they say, in a really gross way?
Collecting information and yes. So it it is absolutely difficult for someone just to start off, and it's not like you are a dummy on any level, but databases aren't necessarily your, in what we do.
I'm a
Yeah,
neophyte
you're
at
yeah.
best.
And it is not like an easy sort of thing to grasp immediately, but the the idea, as you were saying, is that yes, everything from the new campaign that you create, as soon as you hit the button that says new campaign, that's going into a database. And so then you're really just talking about, as you said, collecting data. And then Notion's job is to then display that data how you want it to be displayed, where you want it to go.
Hmm.
And that is tricky to understand. That is kind of a
But
bear.
the specific point of like confusion was where the data, like where I found myself getting tripped up was, where does the database end and where does the interface begin in terms
Yes,
of
exactly.
within Notion? And that's where I was getting like really, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like I was getting caught up on the wrong things. Like I was kind of being a bad client,
No.
right? But we get frustrated a lot when, and it's actually a good example of, when you are a vendor and you're working with a client, you cannot assume that they know what you know, and you've
Yeah.
got to really hold their hands through it. And it's easy for clients to get caught up on something that actually may not matter at all. It's
Right.
very common. So
Yes.
I felt like that's what I was doing. I guess
You
what
were a
I'm
little
looking for
bit.
is affirmation. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm not trying to be mean, but yes, you were a little bit, and but that's totally okay and understandable. So what I want to do first, just because this is the way that I work and I think, and also there's a necessity in Notion to do this, is to kind of go, let's just raw data, and then let's try to make it visually, aesthetically, and user experientially uh, closer to. Here, I'm going to go ahead and
Raw data.
show people
Raw data. Raw data.
closer to the thing that you have been designing, right?
Hmm.
Uh, we're going to
Raw.
get to as close to this as we can, but it is, yeah, there's definitely an element of, this is a table, this is a database right here, this thing that says campaigns. And it's tough because it has a different view, but whether I'm looking at it as a pretty six up block with images and so on and I love Bog World's image for just a green, but like
Brick World. Let's rename
Brick
that to
World
Brick World.
can do. But yeah, whether there we go, done.
Much better. Thank you.
Whether you're looking at it here or you're looking at it that looks like an Excel, file, it's the
Right. Doesn't
same
matter. It's not
stuff.
the point. It's not the
Not the
yeah. The
point.
point is that the content is being created. The content is being stored. So
Yes. That
I
being
guess like.
said,
Mhm.
I think I've done a little bit trying to move a little bit closer to what you would like to eventually see. Maybe just kind of I've added a few databases that talk to each other that may kind of help this idea of once you enter your campaign, everything is linkable. So whether you're in
Right.
a journal or you are writing about a brand new NPC that you've met, or you go to a location and you add a location, all of these things can so that the end result is just click, 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 click to where you need to go, where your party needs to go to be right there with your information.
And
So
and
I
and the point of this is what we want to have happen with Campaign Companion is for the user, the player, to have a very robust system with which they can find their stuff very quickly, and they can
yes.
also, and by creating these backlinks through from their inventory to the journal back and forth, that when they're if they're searching, if they're filtering, if whatever they're doing, they can say, oh, I have this sword and I know that there's some kind of information that's going to be important to me later attached to this sword that's in my inventory, and I want to be able to just quickly be able to get at any of that information
Yeah.
going either way.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that correctly?
You did. You did.
Just
That
trying to
is.
share that idea because I figured, I don't know if we've stated that explicitly to
Yeah. No,
the
that sounded
folks.
good. And here's something super encouraging. I'll go ahead and show this off because I didn't have it up before. But here is our form. Here's the form data. I mean, not the data, but here's the form that Allison created to ask these informations. There was one. Now I have to go to that link. But in this, we ask a question. No, we can't go through. Boom. Boom. I'm just going to get to the questions that are... Oh, there's a lot of questions. They're good questions, though, everybody. Take a look. Good
We're gonna
questions.
love these questions.
You're going to love these questions. So here's an example. Like, these really... This extra credit section really just kind of got me really excited, the answers to this, because immediately people were asking about these things. They were saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if you could go in and you could link these things digitally so that you're not going back and forth in paper notes. You're really finding a cohesive system. So that's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
This is Notion. I've stuck with Barovia as an example. And what we're going to do is we're just going to build Barovia out. And then we're going to end up turning Barovia into a template, which will allow a lot of these databases to, once you spin up a new campaign by clicking a plus button, it's going to kind of populate all of these empty databases that you can then go to town in. But for now, we're just raw dogging it. So let's open this as a page so we can get the full effect of Barovia. This is a campaign that we ourselves are playing, and a few of the things I added today. So this is what we built last week. We added the journal, and it is its own database. And I haven't done anything aesthetically to this. A few things on the inside of it. First, I just kind of put it as a list, just like the different entries more as a list. But we've got what I'm calling kind of a navigation, right? And all of these are right now are the databases. but some of them feed into one another. And some of them you can see by themselves. And that's another neat thing about Notion. So I'll just go ahead and show you what I added. We're just gonna do this table view. And so if we click on one of these entries, what did I create? Open meeting Strahd.
Ooh, look at Strahd's lovely locks. I didn't realize he had such sweet locks.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, he is hot. Actually, this is not the example. This is not the best example. Where did I do? Road to Vallaki. Is that what? Let's try Road to Vallaki.
We're on the road to Vallaki.
Yeah, great. So this is getting into the example of how powerful, not just Notion, but what Campaign Companion will eventually have as well. This idea of being able to just go from, we passed a creepy windmill, and when I click on that, it takes you to the windmill. And then I can go back to Road to Vallaki, right? Mm-hmm. So this is its own database. It's in the I've created one called Locations now, just because I thought that would be a nice thing to have.
This isn't specifically the database, but it's in a database called Locations. Is that right? Or this?
Right. Well, now, okay. Yes, because now, in fact, so I wrote this sentence of Irina with red hair, but I actually think I want to, because I now have an NPC database. So, I did create her. Hold on. Irina Cole Yana. Is that what her name is? And so I can create this new thing in the database called NPCs of Barovia. It's thinking. There we go. I'm going to delete this. But here's another example of, now when I click on Irina, it's in the NPC database that I want it to be. I want her to be in there. See, NPCs of Barovia. So right now we've got, it just didn't show up. I guess I hadn't clicked on it. But here's Ismark. Oh, that's why, because I hadn't opened it yet. So that's a new one. Okay. So, and in Irina, there is more information, like she joined us at the village of Barovia. Her brother is Ismark, so that will take you back to Ismark. And then here's Strahd. I'm going back to Strahd. So it's kind of like this. Here's Vallaki. Here's a village of Barovia. And you can kind of keep going. Now, Campaign Companion will have a nice. Like right now, we've got this breadcrumbs, and that's just inherent, and it just comes with Notion. There's definitely better UX to kind of get back to where you want to go. But right now, it's got something where you can go all the way back. You can go to Barovia and start at the very beginning. But we'll probably have like a sidebar that is constantly there ready for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. I mean, just building this is, I think, gonna maybe help uncover some UX things to consider in terms of how, like, just considering different use cases. Like for say a user just goes down a rabbit hole and just keeps chasing and like linking. User experience wise, to get back to where they started from, how do they do that? Like, what's the most efficient way to do that? Is it a breadcrumb? Is it some other kind of UI situation?
Right.
So yeah, and these aren't things that you, like when you're just kind of creating in a vacuum, you don't always consider everything.
Right.
So this is interesting for me.
Okay, cool. So this laptop that we're sharing, I'm asking it to do a whole lot. I think it's pretty slow. When I was playing with this morning, Notion wasn't nearly this slow. Sometimes it does. But did you see what I was doing there? Where I can go in and I can say hater of, and at is the way that they do it, and I can start typing. HD, right? And it's thinking about, but eventually it's going to come up with his actual, yeah. Another problem here is I this is also my personal one, so there it is, yeah, right there. I was probably there the whole time.
It's like looking through your entire databases
yeah.
to try to find this one thing.
Right. I just dumped all
Okay.
my stuff in the trash for now. I'll try to clean it up before we meet next time. No, it's fine. Who cares? Yeah. So, I just kind of put some things in here where we're immediately starting to build out the NPCs, where we're starting to look at things where you can add images, where you can then show these people as a gallery, and you can tell them, we need to get Ismark's image in there, but I can tell Notion to use the image that you uploaded as the card. And you can also make these different sizes somehow. We can do that later. But you can kind of make it, we'll make it look nicer. But yeah, so we've got, here's what's interesting to me. Is that in building the journal, I immediately started going through it and saying, okay, great. I'm gonna write about these adventures that we're having. Let's say, Barovia Village, and I immediately wanted to. Oh, that's interesting. I immediately wanted to start adding these other databases, right? Because I wanted them to be able to be linked in that way. So the nice thing is, like, the journals should be so encompassing that we'll be able to just kind of build the databases even from within the journal if we want to. Meaning, like, the idea of how it's going to work. Just by having this journal and going through our actual gameplay in Barovia will help me think, oh, okay, here's where we got, we made $50, right? Or 50 gold. And I could, like, find a way to sync that with the eventual, coin purse thing. Money tracker, if that makes sense. All right, so.
Yes, it makes sense. Sorry, I got distracted by your layer pods notification, and it just occurred to me that for D&D related subjects, we should be calling this layer pods.
We should be calling this layer pods.
I mean, we should maybe be calling it layer pods regardless.
I have layer pods and I have scare pods.
For horror editions.
For horror. That'll be for the horror, adventure. Okay, so all right, so what would be fun to work on a little bit now that I've kind of shown what we've done? I can tell you're kind of starting to grasp some things. What would be interesting to tackle?
I think you tell me what's next. This is your wheelhouse.
Okay. Well, one thing I thought about, again, like, let's bring up Road to Valaki again. So some of these things that we created last week, these what Notion calls properties, in Excel they would be called columns. In Airtable, I don't remember what they're called, but
what's it called? Items
maybe, I can't remember. But a lot of these things are great. Like, I really love the created by, the last created by, created on, and last edited. And I'll show you how I've gotten that to be useful If we go back to...
Ooh, I have something you could add to that. Wanting this to be well, I guess maybe it already accounts for that. The last edited by that accounts for multiple users, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would tell you when it was last edited and who did the editing.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Cool.
And this is how I've used that. So one thing that was confusing to you last week is when you get to Barovia, you wanted to see what is in your closer to what your design is, where Campaign of Dune is Barovia, and you start to see the journal immediately, which I agree with. We'll get somewhere there, somewhere close to that in Notion. But in the meantime, one thing that I've just kind of done is like, here's the most recent journals, and these can be done tied into the last modified date, right? And I've set it to like 10. You could set it to 50. You could set it to 100. But this is just the same database as this Barovia journal, but I'm able to put it into a list form, and it just says this was edited last Wednesday and today, and so on and so forth. I also need to sort them by last edited.
Can we just for nomenclature's sake, in my mind, this list is the journal. Each one of these is an entry. So this would be most recent entries.
Yes, absolutely. Let's stick to that then. I'm going to say for everyone,
like Barovia as a whole, that's the journal. And it encompasses all the databases that include NPCs and locations and items and inventory, all of that stuff. This is the journal.
Okay, yeah. What I would say is Barovia is...
I'm getting off track again?
No, not necessarily. I would call Barovia the campaign. And under that campaign...
Oh, I'm sorry. You are absolutely correct. You're correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah. But that is interesting because I was running into situations where we had named this journal last week. And I was immediately like, well, if you're at least in Notion, if I'm searching for, if we in each campaign, there's going to be a journal, and that can be templatized. We are going to want to call this Barovia Journal, right? That can be automated for sure. But I did get confused. We could rename this one Barovia NPCs and Barovia Locations. But yes, you're exactly right. This is the campaign, and then here's just the most recent journals because you kind of wanted to get the ball, hit the ground running, and the people that log in and they go to Barovia say, okay, this is what they talked about, right? And we could even say one thing that might be interesting right here is, let's go ahead and say last edited by. Let's put that in there. So now we've got, So this is my super lame icon, but this says I have edited all of these things. If you go in and you edit Road to Vallaki, then it'll have an E there.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
And these entries exist. If you open up that journal, these entries will be the content that makes up that journal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So I know this is just semantics, but if you change this to most recent journal entries or just entries, then it would make my organizational brain smile.
Very good. I agree.
And I'll give you an illustration of what that looks like.
Okay, please do. Are you writing on the thing? I don't see.
Yeah, I'm drawing.
Oh no!
You can't see my super sick, creepy brain?
It was just working.
Oh, wow.
What happened? No, it means everything to me.
Oh, I just drew a nice smiley brain with eye stalks. Anyways,
try it again real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You
So
see that?
that's what it is. I have to take Notion off of full screen. Not a problem. It's worth it. This is your brain.
Okay.
This is your
This
new
is my
brain.
brain on D&D.
Love it. Oh, there's
Yeah, eye stalks. Don't
the
forget.
brain. Yeah, of course.
And then a nice little smile.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That.
thank you for clarifying that for me. It definitely helps. And continue.
Okay. Great. Actually, let's go back to you had some thoughts. Oh, why is that in the trash?
Well,
What did I do?
yeah, you better restore
Okay.
that shit.
That's fine. Maybe I accidentally traced it. So you had some thoughts on these properties, which I think we could tackle a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
I did.
Oh, I thought you said you had some thoughts on these.
It was already tackled
Oh, great.
in the last edited by.
Oh, there it is. Great. The other nice thing is in Notion we can hide some of these that we don't necessarily need to see, so that we can get the fold up a little bit. We'll do that later. One interesting thing that we learned already in the 5 forms that were filled out is that people specifically mentioned the concept of tags, and I think that is pretty fun. Where we can use something. We can use something to then pull data from not just a database, but we can pull it so that it shares, so that we can start making those kinds of links too. So we could then say, again, more in the dashboard element. So you would use it in a way where you could, tag old windmill as Granny, right? And these are all of the different locations that you've experienced that have something to do with Granny. And so Granny could be Village of Barovia, and it could be Old Windmill, and so on and so forth. That's how tags would work. So I'm kind of glad that we accidentally went into this one. I think that complete quest.
Before you move on, do you want to really build that, flesh that feature out?
Yeah, you want to? Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk more rock.
Okay. All right. So,
unless this conversation is a short one, or you'd rather do the overview first and then come back and dive into it. I just want to put some meat on the table.
Yeah, let's put some meat on the table. I'm going to go ahead and we want to have a to-do list. So I don't think that this is necessarily what we need. So I'm going to delete this. I just want to clean some of this up. Images we may keep. And then I'm actually thinking that this will be another database that is a character database, which we've already touched on. So that way, this is automatically populated, the created by the player, and then the character is something that you choose for each journal entry. But let's talk about tags. Let's think about this. Here's some that I have already put together. The road to Vallaki would. So if we had we don't need map. All right. Barovia Village definitely doesn't have St. Andral or that. But this would have location. This would be. So, do you know the idea of tags versus categories and things like that? So, where tags are more tend to be more, minute, maybe. Like if categories are big, sweeping overall chunks of organization, the tag can then kind of, flit in and out of a bunch of categories, if that makes sense. So,
Okay.
What I'm trying to do right now is kind of to make it feel useful, because I think it's going to be something that will come to us as we're building this. But so now we've got 2 journal entries that are tagged with location. How else could we tag Barovia Village? Let's just do my.
The idea is that the player would create these tags for themselves. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's really however they see fit. Yeah,
Right.
Granny. That's probably the first time they're going to meet Arena and her brother Ismark. Bismarcky Mark.
Yeah. So here's,
or if that's with.
Exactly. So that's also where I'm kind of like, where does that line go? Do we stay a little bit more opinionated and kind of lock some of these down, and then thereby turning them into more of a category, so that Barovia Village, the talk of it is definitely location, and we don't get into the confusingness of adding Irina? Or do we just let players go and just say, hey, add Granny, add Irina, so on and so forth?
Well, it brings up a good point of like, what is the most useful I mean, there's different players who have different play styles and different thoughts on what is important and what's too much and what's not enough. But I'm very sensitive to, I don't want to create an Inception world like Notion, where people can just get lost in the enormity of it. Here's one of the core things about playing D&D and taking notes. Why it's hard for a lot of people is that you're listening and paying attention, should be, to the DM and the other players, and it can be hard to just partition your mind to then take notes. So if there's a lot of open-ended stuff and a lot of technical, like, I've got to tag this and do that, that can take you way far out of the game, right? Yeah. So you want that to be fairly the footprint to be fairly light, and yet, if you're a player and you're like, okay, I'm in Barovia Village, that's a location. Are the people who I meet in Barovia Village, is that going to make it easier for me to find notes related to that? Because that's the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're including people, it's like, oh, where did I meet them? Where was that? Where did I meet Blinksy?
Yeah.
Was that Barovia Village? No. That was Valaki. And I want to go back to Blinksy because he had all the awesome magic items.
Right.
You could see a use case for that's how you would use a tag, right?
Yes.
The point of the tag is to be searched.
Exactly, and filtered. And as you were talking, I went ahead and created a relational database that then allows me to pull in Irina and Ismark. And this I think is going to be more useful. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift gears a little bit, because the idea of tags immediately started stepping into, or stepping onto, however you want to think about it, these other like definitive things. And you just, as an example, gave that example, which is, hey, I'm going to attach this NPC to this journal entry. So let's actually move tags to the bottom of the list for now. Not get rid of it, but let's see we'll see what's left, right? Like, what do we need tags to be as far as a filter search system? So, yes,
so
exactly. I'm thinking, well, it can be anything. I'm thinking that and you could disagree, but like, is there a point of connecting a journal to a character database?
Uh,
Because
a player, an NPC or a PC?
a PC, I'm on the fence about it because on some ways you could say, like, what if a journal entry is written when the party is split up for some reason, or what if the journal entry is written, and an actual player couldn't be at that session? I don't know whether it's worth it or not. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, how much use would this as a added feature get? We'd maybe have to get some test drive to see. One
Mm-hmm.
interesting potential use case for something like that would be, say you were playing a game at our with our good friends at Tabletail Games. Go visit
Put the link in the.
tabletailgames.com, where you can
Yeah.
get going in a drop-in game immediately. And there are drop-in games that go weekly, right? They're private games and there's
Yep.
public games.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just drop into I think, an ongoing public adventure. And so you're not always going to have the same group every week in a public adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it would be interesting for in that use case to be able to tag a player in that way, so that you would
Yes.
remember, oh yeah, this person was there and now they're gone, and I'm glad they're dead.
And they're glad they're gone. I like that a lot.
I don't know.
And that.
It's one use case. Does it
Yeah.
justify this? I'm still like, maybe,
Sure. Me too. Me too. But let's do a little. Let's.
because. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and as you were saying that, I was also like, okay, I also need to kind of shore up the concept of how this journal is going to be used, right? It might not be called Barovia Village because you might be in Barovia Village for 2 sessions, or in our case, 4 months. um, so it's really like it would be more like day 1, right? Possibly.
Well,
I don't
okay.
know.
Well, you're kind of skewing into another component
Well,
of
not necessarily. What I don't
campaign
want to.
companion, which, well, I was going to say there's folders, right? So you could
Mm-hmm.
say Barovia Village to keep it simple, and then
Mm.
inside the Barovia Village folder, then you can have day 1, day 2, day 3, and that's
Dang.
all of your Barovia Village stuff in one nice, neat place, and then you can
Mm.
move on to Road to Valaki, etc.
Oh my gosh, that's good. That's
Pretty
really
sick.
good. That's
Incredibly
really
sick.
good.
All right, well, you set that up. I need to get a refill on my water. I'm
Do it.
parched.
All
BRB.
right.
Gurney, don't be too
Goodbye.
loud. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, along those lines, you would really just. Let's see. If we go. Because Notion does have folders, but in this case, what we're talking about, and let me get rid of this for now, just kind of distracting me. Yeah, dogs. So Notion does have folders, but in this case, and I think this part of the journal entry will definitely have folders as well, but in this case, we're really kind of thinking about journal entries because you can't add a folder to a database. But you can have a page within a page. So you could just do this.
Page within a page, man. That's just nonsense.
It is
Just kidding.
nonsense.
Just kidding.
It really. Well, I mean, it is for what we're trying to do. It's our only option, and it isn't necessarily the best option. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily for what we're trying to do. There is no such thing in Notion as subtasks, really. You could create a folder saying you could say Barovia Village, and here's and it would live in a database, but then you would have to kind of have a second database within Barovia Village of all the sub things. I don't know whether we want to go that far. We might.
Well, so the what I kind of based that concept on was the Dropbox paper model, where you can have an entry, you can have a list of entries, or you can organize your entries by just putting them inside a folder. If that helps you in any way.
So possibly, because let's see how this is. This going to give me no campaigns? No, I'm just not going to do it because now we're already too inceptioned to actually see it in this. This is Notion has a sidebar, but it's so high level that it doesn't. I never end up using it, honestly, much at all. I usually just kind of I create my own. Oh, well, there you go, Biv. That's the way we could do this.
How?
We basically create a new. I guess it is going to be basically a database, but we're going to call it. We're going to just call it a select, maybe. And if we call this.
Would you call it a Tom select?
Well, that would be great if we did. Gosh, but then would this be Tom select? But would this be a location? And is locations then our folder? That's tough. Mm-hmm. Well, basically, I'm saying like it is. Okay, let's think about this. Let's kind of dwell on it this week. Of all the possibilities of kind of recreating that folder within a folder to organize this, I think it's going to end up being something that you add, like a tag or like something. I don't know whether we want to get into the idea of database and then a database inside. So
yeah, and that's admittedly, this is something I don't understand about Notion, and we don't maybe even have to worry about organizing it in this way. We just need to know that we want to do it. I don't think about it as a database inside a database. It's just a container for your individual databases.
Of course, but do know that is a database.
It's a database of your databases, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, a folder is a database that you then...
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
You're too little.
What's happening? What are you doing?
Well, mind.
Oh, no. Mind.
It's either a guy getting his mind blown or a chef.
A chef.
You tell me.
Yeah. Depends on how hungry I am. Right now, I'm just going to create some pages. And we're going to call this Barovia Day 2, just for fun.
Sick.
It was still gray outside. All right, so now we've kind of got like a journal entry, and then instead of what I'm trying not to do is say, is this a location? So I'm going to say our time in. That's all I need personally to kind of separate them. I do, however, like this thought of connecting it to a location. So let's do that. I think that's cool and important. There's a lot of stuff you can do there. And Village of Barovia. Yeah. So there we go. I'll move this up here. Uh-huh. And I'm going to go ahead. Yep.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that it might be interesting in Campaign Companion to have some of these. I mean, you're creating a template right now, but like some of these tags and organization will be done by the player, by the user, but then some of them should be built in, right? So like locations, a place where you can go to where you're encouraged and pushed to keep track of stuff without having to build it yourself.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like here's where your locations go. It's kind of similarly. Here's where your NPCs go.
Oh yes, I did create that. In fact, where are you? So I have it right here.
Yeah.
Locations. So now if we go to
Sick.
Locations, we've got these things.
Locations.
And see, here's where you can, maybe you can see how this is starting to kind of be interesting. So now when you go to the locations, as you suggested, we've got this journal entry. No, actually, this is the location, and then this is who is there, Irina. But then here's the journal, and it, I'm gonna have a cooler name. Call this featured in journal entries or something. That's not any better.
And if it was in more than one, then it would be a list of these.
Let's go ahead and do that, because why not?
Yeah.
Just seriously, why not? All right, Barovia Journal. We're gonna say Barovia Village, Rojavalaki. It's none of those are. So what else is wait a minute. I think I've been going in my own Inception thing. I think I've done something wrong, but that's okay.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I got kicked. I got kicked out of our original campaign. Oh no, that's all right. Let me fix that real quick. It's okay. A little tough to talk and do this at the exact
I'll stop. I'll stop.
No.
I keep interrupting your workflow with my stupid words and thoughts.
No.
Yes.
That's not true.
Yes.
Where did I put it then? Let's see. Our time. Where did this go?
Don't know.
Don't know. Can't tell.
Don't care.
Don't care. Oh, NPCs. What the hell?
It's pretty sick.
God's sake.
Whatever you're doing.
Oh. Just in general. All right, where the heck did I put that? That's not
What are you looking for?
So somehow I created a new Barovia. It's probably because I bet what's happening is Notion is so slow on this laptop today that I'm accidentally recreating something maybe. All right, here's no. Here's this, and here's the most recent journal entries. And that takes us where we want to go.
Yeah. And then you've got, then that's like basically a folder, and I saw 2 sub pages within. So that seems correct.
So maybe this is the link that's wrong.
Well, because these are your only journal entries. So this should open up all of these things, right?
Yeah.
Well,
source is Barovia Journal. Oh my gosh.
I'll eat the peanuts and the cheese.
I'll eat the peanuts and the grease.
I'll eat the peanuts and a pack of beef. I only eat my beef in packs. Don't want no cheese. Don't want no beefy snacks.
I like the beef and all the creams. All right.
Well.
Yes. Oh yeah. See, I have 2 now. I don't want 2. So where is that one?
Damn you, Notion.
That's what this one is. Okay, so that's interesting. All right. Yeah, damn you, Notion. It's okay. This is all right. This is actually where we want to be. So let me go into these then and redo this. I want to. Wow, this is also moving faster too. Maybe I'm still like using old stuff.
Using the stuff of old.
The stuff of old.
I'll eat the peanuts and the cheese. Yeah. If you don't like that, you can get all my creamy teens. What?
Yeah. What? NPCs. Wait, let's make sure that's the right one. Yep, there it is. NPCs. All right. Yeah, now we're back.
Power lunch.
Power lunch. Power lunch. Okay, so now if I get rid of this guy. Good. All right, now we're back. So this is the one now that needs to be
Yeah.
Goodbye. All right. Move this up here. Hide this. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to rename this Our Time in. Great. Okay. So
there you go, folks. You witnessed a Notion inception point firsthand. That's how you do it.
This is how you do it. Inception, Notion, Inception. Anyway,
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So great. Now we've got the journal entries. Now when we click on this thing, we've got more data. We're kind of pulling more things in. We can now grab our NPCs and talk about them in a journal entry. We can have we can create a new page, which we're going to work on and say day 1 Barovia pies and whoa, don't know what that is. Lovely pies. And yeah, there we go. Because we now see day 1 goes back. I must have just done something wrong. I apologize, everybody. Sometimes it's good to see somebody bleep up. All right, so then we can go back to the journal. And this is going to be called entries. There we go.
Okay, I think I might have a legitimate database question.
Please.
Go back to our time in Barovia Village.
Mm-hmm.
And then go into Barovia Pies.
Okay.
So say I'm taking notes on day 1 Barovia Pies, and within here we come across an NPC and I type his name, and his name is, or her or their name is. Whatever you say it is.
It's Irina.
Okay, great. So I'm typing Irina. Actually, don't do. I want to create one, not one that's existing.
Sorry. Gotcha. I see.
So their name is Baba space Ganoush. And I want to create an NPC from this internal page.
Yes.
Is it linked to this page, or is it linked to its parent page, Our Time in Barovia Village?
This would be linked to this page.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and do that.
Is that proper? Is that helpful and correct, or is that weird? Is there any reason for me to want to have this information associated with the parent?
In my mind, I'm thinking about readability, and I'm thinking that if I know where I'm going, let's just go back up 1. Let me actually clean this up a little just so I can see it. If I go back up 1, and this ends up just being a list of my experiences in Barovia Village, then I want to go to day 1 in order to get to Baba Ganoush, because there's no, like, Our Time in Barovia Village, there's no remember, what we're trying to do right now is kind of make Our Time in Barovia Village a folder.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
However, here's an interesting thing, though. These journal entries currently, they currently don't have anything, no properties. So this is just raw text, which would take us to Baba Ganoush. But we could then add Baba Ganoush. Like, let's say Baba Ganoush shows up day 2, day 5, day 7 as well. You're like, oh, Baba Ganoush is like a serious playa here. So then we can put in Baba Ganoush as an actual NPC in the folder level, at the folder level.
Well, let me spin that back to you a different way. So say that the way that you're going to experience that as a player is the DM is telling you about this NPC that you meet. Their name is Baba Ganoush. and this is something I come across quite often where I'm not sure, do I need to take notes on this particular NPC or not? How
Right.
am I going to encounter them again? Do they how much do they matter?
Sure.
So it may not be that, um, it may be by the time that you have created a the player creates a database for an NPC, that means they're already important enough to be noted. So, um, is it possible? Say I met Baba Ganoush on day one, eating
Mm-hmm.
pies together, and that's where I create the Baba Ganoush database, and it automatically populates any guys that you create. It's automatically they populate here.
That is interesting.
And again, I know that that's not a UI, that's not something that a player is going to see necessarily, but it's just
No.
like it's already associated. Any NPC that you create are automatically upvoted to the top layer because they're all associated with this
Uh-huh.
folder.
I think I know what
Quote
you're
unquote.
saying. So in other words, can I auto-populate any like backlinks from a subjournal automatically to the property um, of its folder of its parent?
Yeah, and I don't really know, like trying to think that through to the end. I don't really know what value that has. I don't know databases enough or how this is going to be applied to know what value this will have for the player. The point is, if you're filtering or you're searching, what we don't know, the X factor here is, okay, well, what is the player searching for? Do they know the name
Right.
Baba Ganoush and they're searching for that? Do they know, like, what are the search parameters and what are they trying to get at? So you don't, in this case, like say it's Baba Ganoush, and what they're really, they remember the name and what they're looking for is that entry. Do you really want to point them at the folder level when they want something more specific than that? Like, is that not helpful? Is that not helpful? I don't know. Again, here I am fucking using my mouth again when I'm just asking questions I don't even understand.
No,
I hate,
this is
I
actually
hate
very
myself.
helpful.
Hate myself.
No, this is really good for me because here, like, folder template. So, I mean, this is really interesting because I'm now suddenly thinking, can I just drag this? I can't drag it in there. But what we're trying to do is find some way to create sort of connections and subs. So after I said, oh my gosh, I don't know whether we want to have subpages in a database, maybe we're saying that we do. Because maybe what we're saying is we want this most recent journal entries to list both entries that are standalone and entries that we can combine in a folder. I mean, I know that that's what we want to do in Campaign Companion, but can we pull that off in Notion with even more connecting? And I love that challenge.
Okay, great. You're hired.
Okay.
Do that now.
Exactly. And what I think it'll probably end up being is you'll go here. I mean, in Notion it's a little clunky, but you'll have to go into here and it'll list folder level or new folder, right? And in that we're going to stick this information. But I think this information would also go in this. I think we will see these same. I think we'll also see these. Properties. Anytime you open up a journal entry, whether it's a folder level or it's a journal entry, we're going to see these properties that you can click, go through. Ismark, Irina, Baba Ganoush, this location, that location. And then we're going to use the magic of categories and tags and relations to do something like, in this database, if it is a folder and it has sub pages, don't show those sub pages necessarily. And you can turn that on and off. So maybe you're like, I think in folders, I want to have folders, and I want to organize all my individual pages in those. Makes sense if it's a super long campaign like Barovia. So you would be able to kind of turn that off. Or no, I want to see everything. So I want to be able to click on the folder and go and see all of those, but I also want to see all of them in a list as well.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I like that. That's some high level Notion.
Okay.
No, I like it. So let's see. Filter, sort, group based on whether it's a sub entry or a folder entry. Oh, man, yeah, I love this stuff. Okay.
Well,
all right. Well,
with that in mind,
I feel like we got a lot done today, and that gives me a lot to think about this week. And my goal is to come back and show you what I have discovered. I know that you always feel like there's a lot of talk, but to be perfectly honest, this is super helpful. I mean, the things that you just said, this is what I would love to see. And then again, I'm going to plug this Google form that we're going to put in the YouTube notes below that we would like for everybody to fill out, because it's fun and it's interesting, and it asks you questions about what if you had your own player companion for a tabletop role playing. So like what we're doing here is we're able to like nimbly make these connections both from people outside of us and then internally for you to understand this. I love it. I think we got a lot of stuff done today.
Well, I like that.
How sick is this? Pretty sick. Now who is this?
Super sick. I don't know. Some guy.
All right.
Okay, brother. Well, Mary, that's good sickness.
Yeah, very good sickness.
I hope anybody out there watching, I hope this was helpful for you if you're a Notion person, or interesting if you're a D&D person with journal taking issues, note taking issues. As always, please feel free to hit us up on Twitter. That's at Bivens Bros Twitter, Facebook at Bivens Brothers, Instagram at /Bivens Brothers, and you can find us on YouTube at Bivens Brothers Creative, and here at Twitch. And whether you just want to talk about your notes, or you need a website, or you just think D&D is cool and you want to talk with us about that, there's something we love talking about more. Come hit us up. And I guess that's it. Is that it? What else, brother?
I think that's pretty good. We're aiming to do this every Wednesday, like 2CT, 3ET.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, other little bits. And this show is called Pair Pods.
Layer pods.
Layer pods. This version of pair pods is called layer pods, just
Yeah.
to keep it more confusing. So, shall we go out with the intro outro? Until we meet again.
Go.